Everybody, today I'm going to be reviewing Chopper Strike. This game came from Milton Bradley in 1976 and it is for 2 players. Now the object of Chopper Strike is you are going to be trying to destroy your opponent's jeeps or all of your opponent's choppers. Now if you look on the box, you're going to notice that this is actually a 3D game of sorts. It has a bottom level here where you're going to be placing your jeeps, and above you have this little plexiglass thing where you're going to be placing your choppers. This game is actually kind of like playing 2 games in one because your choppers and your jeeps both capture pieces differently. So let's show you how this game works. Okay everybody, let's go ahead and show you the components really quick. The first thing you have here are your jeeps, and these basically will move along the ground over here, and you're not going to be able to run over these lakes over here that are in the middle of the board with the jeeps. You have to avoid those. And right here you have your choppers. Choppers are going to be taking up the second tier, and they're going to be flying, and you can fly these over the lakes as well. And then right here you have your dice. You have 2 dice, and the black die is basically going to represent how many pieces you're going to be able to move, and then the white die is going to represent how many spaces each of those pieces can move. Now what you're going to be doing in the game is you're going to be trying to destroy all of your opponent's choppers or all of your opponent's jeeps. And so basically let's just go ahead and show you how it works. Let's say I roll this. This will allow me to move 1 vehicle 5 spaces. So I would be able to take my chopper and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if I happen to roll something like this where it was a 2, I could either move 2 choppers, 2 jeeps, or I could move a combination of both of them. So now in the beginning of the game you're going to be placing these pieces on the very back row, and you can place them on any of the spaces over here. All the pieces can move forwards and backwards and to the side, but they cannot move diagonally. So the way you capture different things is there's 4 different ways. The first way is a jeep capturing a chopper. So let's say I had a chopper over here and I happen to roll something like this. Let's say I had a chopper over here and I had a jeep over here, and 7 to say I rolled something like this. Now you have to move the full count of the dice. You can't split moves or just move partially. So a way a jeep could capture a chopper would be like you would just go 1, 2, 3 and end up directly underneath the chopper. What would happen is the jeep would basically shoot the chopper down, and then the chopper would be out of the game. Now let's say it was a chopper trying to shoot the jeep. In this case the chopper would do the same thing, only it would be doing it from above. So you go 1, 2, 3, and then the chopper would basically bomb the jeep, and the jeep would be out of play. Now, in order to knock a jeep out with another jeep, what you're going to have to do is land on the jeep by exact count. So in this case, let's just say I happen to roll a 5. There's a 5. So let's just say I happen to roll a 5. I can take my jeep and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. I can knock the jeep out that way. And now when it comes to the choppers killing each other, this basically works like checkers. So, and I happen to roll something like this. I could go 1, 2, and then hop over this chopper like so, and that would take out the chopper, and then I would finish up my move. Now, a unique thing about the chopper is if I end up landing, if my last move ends up landing next to a chopper, I can go ahead and make an extra jump. So the way it would work like with that is if I rolled, say, a 5, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and since I ended my turn next to an enemy chopper, I would be able to jump him as well. Now you can also jump over your own chopper, similar to Chinese checkers. So I could go like 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, like that. Now I would not be able to do it if I had 2 choppers next to each other. I cannot do like that. So that's essentially how the captures and everything like that works. Let's just have a little bit of fun, and let's just do a little game roll here. So let's just decide, say I decide to move this here, I move this here, and then I move this here, and that constitutes my turn. So let's say my opponent rolls something like that. He decides he's going to move his chopper 5 here, he's going to move his chopper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and then let's say he moves his jeep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And then it goes back to my opponent. You're basically going to do this, so I'll just do this one more time. Let's just say I roll something like, let's say I roll a ridiculously high number. Let's say I roll this. So I could take my chopper and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and knock this guy out. And actually, since my chopper is directly underneath this jeep, I would actually take out the jeep as well, so the jeep would be taken out. And that would constitute one of my moves. And then I could go ahead and move something else. So let's see if I can actually get this piece, which is on 54. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I can't quite reach him, but I could at least move over there. And then my opponent will go. And so basically this is how the game works. You'll roll the dice, you'll move your choppers, you'll move your jeeps, you'll capture pieces, and the winner of the game is going to be the one that ends up taking all of the choppers or all of the jeeps off of their opponent's side. So, my final thoughts on Chopper Strike. Well, I really like this game a lot. This is a fairly light strategy game. I'd probably put it medium strategy. I'm not like a heavy strategy game kind of a guy. Like games like chess, I'm not really that good at because I can't really think like that far ahead. With games like Chopper Strike, you can probably think maybe 2-3 moves ahead, and you can set your opponents up for different things. And now a lot of what the game depends on is what you roll on the dice. Sometimes you might roll like low numbers, so you're not going to be able to move your pieces around that much, and your opponent may roll high numbers, and you can move his pieces around a lot. So a lot of what happens is going to be depending on the dice. However, even though the dice limit what your moves are, that actually, in my opinion, makes the game more interesting because let's say you roll like some low numbers. You know, you're having to think to yourself, okay, what's the best possible move that I can do? You know, I may not be able to capture my opponent's pieces. Perhaps I could perhaps set him up, though, to where I can capture his pieces later. So the dice add a very interesting element to this game because it kind of does limit what you can do, but at the same time, it adds a challenge because it limits you. One thing, too, is this game is not very difficult to learn, and the components are pretty nice. The choppers are made well, the jeeps are made of hard plastic, and I love the fact that Milton Bradley did something like this. They were always thinking outside the box and made some of these older games, and this is no exception. This is probably one of the earlier 3D games that I can think of, and I just think it's such a cool idea to be able to do like a multi-level thing like this. I think it'd be kind of cool, like if you could maybe get some games today that had something like this. My friend Matt and I were talking about this on his podcast, and he had come up with the thought of maybe doing a superhero game where you have like the flying heroes on the top, and then some of the ground heroes on the bottom, and things of that nature. So it's a very cool component that Milton Bradley came up with. So as far as the game goes, I like this game. If you're into hardcore strategy, you might actually like this game somewhat because it does make you think. If you're like me and like medium strategy games, I think you should give this game a try. Now, if you find this at a thrift store, definitely try to pick this up because this game is not cheap. It goes for probably about $25 on eBay plus shipping. And a lot of the shipping cost is pretty expensive for this too because this is a fairly heavy game. I'd recommend it to anybody who likes medium strategy games or games kind of like this. So that is my review. You all take care and keep on gaming.